Good morning, Miami. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our first annual Cristina Gomez 5K run. My name is Ana Marquez, and I am the founder and the president of the Cristina M. Gomez CBI Foundation. Thank you for being here. Thanks to you, Cristina's legacy will continue. I want to thank you for celebrating this very special day with us, and I want to give distinct recognition to Commissioner Juan C. Zapata. Can I hear it for the commissioner, please? Miami Executive Airport. Fit to Run, our partners. My committee, my volunteers, our sponsors. Thank you. Without you, there really would be no 5K. I also want to share with you how this foundation came about. But first, I'm going to read a quote posted by Cristina. Be a game changer. The world has enough followers. We are all born with three things: a mind, a body, and a lifetime. How you use the first two determines the third. Ha! I remember when I used to sleep at night. Success does not sleep. That was posted by Cristina on her Instagram page before her accident. I have 3 sisters, but I was the only one who didn't have a daughter. My niece Cristina Maria filled that spot, and we used to joke about how she would be the person to take care of me in my old age. Not only that, Cristina also used to be my personal assistant, and I miss her terribly. That position still remains vacant, Cristina. As you know, Cristina was a senior at FIU. 3 days before her fall, she had passed her teaching exam and had accepted a teaching position at Cristina M. Eve Elementary, the same school she attended as a child. She was now going to work alongside Sunny, her mentor and teacher for many years. She was also an avid runner, something she had done for years, along with her father, her brother, and her best friend Stephanie. A few weeks ago, Cristina turned 24, but she was 22 when she was preparing to run the full 2015 Miami Marathon. On May 12 of last year, Cristina went out for what was supposed to be a quick 10-minute run, but she never came home. The food she left on the stove burnt that night. She fell from the top of a bridge where she always ran on, straight onto concrete, landing headfirst. The brain trauma she suffered was beyond anything any of us could ever imagine. I was on an airplane. I turned on my phone at 9:10 p.m. and it immediately rang. It was my sister, Connie, Cristina's mother, who'd been trying to reach me for a few minutes. I raced to the hospital from the airport, where I found her father curled up against the wall and on the floor sobbing for his little girl. I looked at him and I shook his shoulders, asking him if Cristina was still alive, but his sobbing wouldn't allow for an answer. Her brother Alex came around the corner and he gave me the news. He said Cristina was alive, but barely, and she wasn't supposed to make it past the night. Months later, we learned that Cristina's injuries were so devastating that twice her heart stopped beating in the ambulance, and twice she had to be paddled back to life. For weeks, we remained in the trauma waiting room at Kendall Regional Hospital, not wanting to leave her. We were there day and night because Cristina was not supposed to make it, and we wanted to be there when she passed away. I remember attempting to go back to work about a couple of weeks after her accident. I had just gotten into my office and I got a call at around 10:30 in the morning. I was told to rush to the hospital because Cristina, her brain was dying. Our little girl was getting tired of fighting and she was rushed in for her 3rd brain surgery. A shunt was put in place to reduce her cranial pressure. Cristina's brain could not control her temperature and she lay in a bed of ice on and off for days, maybe weeks. I will never forget how she shivered uncontrollably. It was just very traumatic to watch. Then her heart rate was up at nearly 200, and the doctors were amazed at her inability to give up. It was then that people began to say, Cristina's strong, because she wouldn't give up the fight. It's not that she was necessarily strong, it's just that she wouldn't give up the fight. The doctors attributed her strength to her athletic body. But I can also tell you that Cristina comes from a long, long line of strong women, and while she was very kind and giving, she was also very feisty, and she had a temper. It was then that I understood that her temper had a purpose. She would really need it to battle for her life. We were amazed to see hundreds of people arrive at the hospital. Extra security had to be put in place. And at one point, we had about 150 people in the waiting room. They were all her family, her friends, including her Alpha Psi Delta sorority sisters and her other FIU students. She was getting back what she had given to so many. So it is no surprise that Cristina's story has been shared all over the world, from the corners of Egypt to Australia to Hong Kong to South America. Her website has had over 7,000 views worldwide, a testament to people's kindness. Very few people knew how many charities Cristina was involved with. She spent every moment of her waking life when she wasn't at her beloved FIU, raising money to help the blind, the deaf, autistic children, foster children, the disabled, and her local churches. She loved God with all of her heart, and her faith and words of wisdom have helped us get through the toughest moments in our lives. But that was not all. Cristina would also feed the homeless in downtown Miami on Sunday mornings with her father before heading to church. I remember I would tell her, "Why are you going all the way down there and then back to church, Cristina? You have to be back there at 10:30 in the morning. That's a long drive. That's just too much." I would worry about her. But to her, she wasn't doing enough. She would bake goods to raise money for gas so she could travel across the country helping churches, painting walls, and beautifying our communities. While most of us spent Thanksgiving and Christmas with our families, Cristina would use those holidays to go to the homeless shelters with her father and her brother to feed those less fortunate. Now I'm going to tell you about her younger years. Cristina was born 10 weeks before my son David. Her parents and I chose to live in the same subdivision so that our kids would grow up as siblings. So I would take both Cristina and David to school, and I would also pick them up. For this, I did this for many years. I remember Cristina being 7, 8, even 9 years old and getting in the back of my car. And sometimes she would be very sick. And I would say to her, "Cristina, why are you going to school so sick?" And she would say to me, "Tia Anna, I cannot miss a single day of school. When I graduate 6th grade, I want my perfect attendance award." So she was exceptionally determined. But on top of that, very early on, since she was a toddler, we could see she had a very extensive vocabulary. Other people also noticed that Cristina was special. And so since she entered elementary school, she was deemed as a gifted child. Since very early on, Cristina was in the spotlight of the media. The Miami Herald ran a story on her because she had the highest reading and writing scores in the state of Florida. She made her teachers, her friends, and her family very, very proud. When tragedy strikes, we can let it destroy us. And I can tell you, it's nearly destroyed my family and myself as well. But we can also make something good of it. Cristina's medical care has run in the millions of dollars. My sister and David, Cristina's father, were unable to work for many months while they took care of Cristina. I found myself raising money on their behalf along with many of our friends. I felt it was enough that they were dealing with the emotional loss of their daughter. The last thing on their mind should be financial issues. One morning, as I picked myself off the bathroom floor, where I often found myself crying after Cristina's accident, I asked myself, how do other families handle this financial catastrophe? How do I make sure that Cristina's accident is not in vain?